Many people have their own ideas about Appalachia and its people. Appalachia is thought of in a stereotypical attitude based on movies and stories. Countless stories include feuds that last through many generations, cousins marrying cousins, and a society of uneducated, backwoods farmers who will never fit into any other society. Few people take the time to learn who the people are, what culture they represent, how they live, and how they contribute to the economic and social characteristics of America. Appalachian societies are created by groups of people with deep faith in their religion, families, and their cultures. Where is Appalachia? The federal government says that the Appalachian region is southern New York to northern Mississippi, 200 square miles that follow the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. This includes all of West Virginia and parts of 12 other states. The other states are Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. The Appalachian region is comprised of early Indians, some of the first settlers from Europe. These people came to this country looking for freedom. They brought their traditions and skills with them to begin a new life. Many of the immigrants that settled the area were Germans, Scotch-Irish, and English. It was said at the time that whereas the English, when they got to America, would build a church, the Germans would build a barn, but the Scotch-Irish would build a whiskey still. This gives insight into the diversity of the area, and then freed slaves also became part of the society. Combining the cultures of these different people created various principles and beliefs. People that live outside the region tend to believe Appalachians are a homogeneous society. They're very stereotypical thoughts. One of the first is the movie The Coal Miner's Daughter about Loretta Lynn. That one tends to be a little closer to the truth. They're very poor people. Then there's Deliverance. That's set in the Georgia area, and that was way through. And let's not forget typical stereotypes, the snake-handling preachers. The economics of the area are very poor. The people of Appalachia depend on the land for their livelihood. Living off the land meant using what was available in order to live. Even though Appalachia is very rich in natural resources, the people that live there are very poor. The Appalachian people are not a homogeneous society. The unity found in Appalachia is in their faith. The most common of the religions are Southern Baptists, Appalachian Baptists, Primitive Baptists, Free Will Baptists, Methodists, Pentecostal, Holiness Tradition, Missionary Baptists, and snake-handling evangelists. Faith did seem to be the one common bond between the various cultures that have built the Appalachian society. Each subgroup did not practice their faith in exactly the same manner, and they did not believe they had to follow any specific doctrines. They did have a faith that was important to their everyday life. Religion is another facet of Appalachia that many see in a stereotypical manner. The South is known for its deep religious beliefs. Many call a large part of the Appalachian area the Bible Belt. When the slaves and freemen in the South became Southern Baptists, they worshiped together with whites, until whites from the outside found the Baptist faith and pushed the blacks to their appropriate places in the back of the churches. And during Reconstruction, many blacks left the combined churches and opened their own churches. Like the white Baptists, the beliefs are derived from the Protestant who preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. To become a member of the Baptist Church, whether it is white or black congregation, a person must commit to Jesus Christ and be baptized. Both churches also use very little decorations, and the church itself is very plain. One of the most often discussed religions is the holiness tradition, often thought to be the same as Pentecostal. They are similar, but have differences. The Holiness Tradition Church along with the snake-handling evangelists, are the churches that handle snakes or serpents. This is probably the most misunderstood and ridiculed of the Appalachian religions. Even other people within the same town scorn the snake handlers. Lee Smith's novel Saving Grace probably explains the beliefs the best without insulting the faith of the people who believe in snake handling during meetings. Snake handling, drinking poison, and fire are a matter of spirituality more than faith. This particular belief is derived from the Bible. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people, and they will get well. This is from the book of Mark 16, verses 17 and 18. Snake handling is usually done while dancing in front of a congregation. It's not limited just to preachers. One preacher stated in an interview, "The feeling to take up serpents is unexplainable," he says. "It's better felt than told. It's a peace that surpasseth all understanding to know that you're standing there with death in your hand, and the anointment of God has protected you to let you do that." The preacher also spoke about snake handling was not about handling the snakes, but about being saved by Christ. The preachers do not like to be called freaks and are offended by the term cult. They are worshiping their Lord Jesus Christ. This particular preacher died from snake venom a matter of months after the interview. Very few churches still handle snakes, and it's illegal to do so in all states except West Virginia. The people of Appalachia depend on the land for their livelihood. Living off the land meant using what was available in order to live. Appalachia is rich in natural resources. The lumber industry was important in the early 1900s, and later the coal industry boomed. These industries allowed the impoverished people of the region to find employment and to feed their families. Many had small gardens and grew vegetables. They also hunted small game to add to their meals. The land was used to support families and neighbors. Often people would help their closest neighbors when times were hard. Soon, the railroad came through the Appalachian region. The land that people were living on suddenly became prime real estate. The land was the only wealth which the people of the area could profit. Suddenly, one of the greatest resources of the area was being depleted. The outside world needed lumber. Mineral rights were being purchased from the farmers without them understanding the ramifications of what the coal mine owners were doing. The land also took lives. Coal mining in those days was even more dangerous than today. One explosion could wipe out the majority of a family because fathers took their sons to work alongside them in order to make enough money to feed the family. They were paid usually by the ton, so the more members of the household that worked in the mine, the more money the family would get. Families were a very important part of the Appalachian society. Families looked after their own. If part of the family left the region, quite often the rest of the family would leave the region. Families lived together, worked together, and worshiped together. They believed in each other and protected each other. The infamous feud between the Hatfields and the McCoys was originally fought over land, but turned into a fight because of family. One side would attack the other's family, and then retribution would be required. 12 people died in that feud. That feud lasted 10 years. Early Indians, European settlers, and freed slaves built a diverse and unique culture throughout the regions. They shared religion, farming, work, food, music, and distinctive ways of living with each other. It was not always peaceful, but it created a special society of hardworking people that worked themselves into early graves to create better lives for their families and societies outside of Appalachia. The stereotypical picture most outsiders see does not show the deep faith these people have in God, family, and in the land they work so hard to cultivate and mine. Even today, the stereotyping still exists. The more remote areas are still poor, and families still live near one another and work together. Their faith in Jesus is still as strong as ever. It is almost as if some areas are timeless.